So we're now in the 2020 to 2021 academic year, and in this video we're just going to be considering whether exams should be cancelled for 2021 or whether they should go ahead as they were in the past, but with just a few minor little tweaks and changes. Now, I did say to a lot of people who asked me about this that I didn't really want to comment on this whole thing yet, simply because there's not a lot of information out from either the government or Ofqual or any ministers that's really concrete and really gives us enough to go off. But because so much time has passed and we haven't really heard anything and so many people have asked me about it, I said let's just go on and let's give my opinion on this now that some time has passed. So before we start, just a friendly reminder to subscribe and hit the bell for notifications on this video so that you don't miss out on any other information, news or updates or advice when it comes to GCSE, A levels, university and beyond, in terms of education and just managing your time and everything like that. So back to the matter at hand. Now, a while back I created this video, which should be attached in the cards up in the corner, where I spoke about why we should cancel the exams in 2021. That was back in June. And if you haven't already, I suggest that you go and watch it, because I look back on the video and the points that I made were actually pretty solid. There were good reasons for why we shouldn't, or we should consider maybe not doing those exams in 2021. And to be fair, looking at what's going on at the moment, it does seem apt. It does seem appropriate to really consider cancelling those exams. And one of the points that stood out to me the most was that point about young people needing to be equipped with the knowledge and skills required for the next stage in their education or the next stage in their career. And that means not being just equipped to pass exams. There's much more to school than just passing exams, or there should be. However, that was in June. That was quite a while back, and lots has changed since then. Since then, we've had the misfortune of seeing exactly what happened with the exams debacle over the summer. We saw a system that brought disappointment and disgust and anger to so many, and you may be part of that group. And it also costs many their futures for no apparent reason, or for very little reason, a reason which wasn't really solid, that couldn't really fully be justified. And on my results live streams, I had reams of students who were unhappy with their results. Some were surprised, or some just didn't feel like they'd earned it either. And either way, it doesn't matter what angle you took it from, whether it worked out well for you or whether it worked out badly for you. It just left a bad taste in everybody's mouth. And so you're probably sitting there thinking, oh, does this mean that Nathan's saying he's changed his mind? He doesn't think that we should cancel exams for 2021 anymore? Well, the answer is yes and no. You see, for a long time, I've believed that exams and assessment as a whole needs to change. That has been one of the things that I've thought since I even started this channel. One of my early videos is about the possibility that this could be a chance for exams to change for the better, to serve students and people better than they have in the past. But at the same time, that doesn't necessarily mean that I think that exams as a whole should go away. That's still a really good and reliable way to test students. That doesn't change. And to assess students, that doesn't change. Instead, for this video, what I'm going to talk about is what I think should change for 2021 exams. And what I tell you is a plan which isn't actually that hard to implement. And it could just be a start, which could then be refined as the years go on. So after 2021 and as we move forward. There's no reason. This is a prime opportunity for things to be reformed and to be improved. So first of all, let's just talk about the CAGs. We know for a fact that centres and their teachers are the people that know their students best when it comes to academics. But despite all our professionalism and our training and all the courses that we've been on and the care that we take, we also have to recognise that we're human and we make mistakes. And we also fall victim to unconscious bias and other issues that could cost some students their futures just by us not realising. It might be a minority, but it's still a minority which are individuals, are people, are real people. So we want to avoid that as much as possible. So then what we need to stop a repeat of last summer is something a bit more rigorous and a bit more fairer. In fact, not a bit more fairer, a lot more fairer. And that minimises room for errors, but is also reliable in identifying the strengths of students, the abilities of students, so that they can move forward. So this is the idea that I came up with from thinking about all that's happened, how we do assess, and how students work as well. Now, I'm no exam expert, but I think that these could be worth taking a look at if we want to move the system forward. So in my opinion, students should not be graded by CAGs. They should not be graded by exams. And they should not be graded by an algorithm. Not for this year, so 2021's academic year, or for future years. Instead, I believe it should be a combination of all three. So, the way this could work is that CAGs and exams could be worth a similar amount in terms of percentage and make up the bulk of the final grade, let's say 90-95%. CAGs will be done similarly to how they were done last year, how Ofqual laid it out, where teachers and centres were looking at all that evidence from assignments in class to how students worked to mock exams, all that sort of stuff. They looked at all that information which they laid out in their documents. So CAGs, it stays the same. Nothing changes with that. Okay? And then when it comes to exams, they can either maybe stay the same, whether at the end of the year, or be broken up into smaller multiple exams over the duration of the course. So these grades could then be combined to create a final grade. So whether that be just taking the average between the two or another algorithm that could be used to work out how those two could come up with a final grade, that would be it. They come up with a final grade that goes off the exam board. That is then put through a system of standardization, some form of calculation or algorithm that would then look at the differences and trends between CAGs and the exam results. And if the gap is too big consistently with a school, then a moderator from the exam board can be sent in just to see why that's an issue. Why is a school giving such high CAGs or such low CAGs when the students' exam results are here or down here? So the standardization is literally just to be a trigger warning for Ofqual or for the exam boards to come in and say, okay, let's just have a look at this and see if there's anything going wrong here. Otherwise, most of it falls between the exams and the CAGs. Okay? And this makes sense because exams have been typically seen as one of the most reliable ways, if not the most reliable way, to assess students. It's why the powers that be cling to it so much, because they say that research says that that's the case. And yeah, so with that combined with how well the teachers know students, comes together to make a really good solid system with the algorithm just checking to make sure that things are okay. And it's that simple in theory. Now, I'm of course, like I said, no examinations expert. I haven't dedicated my life to studying exams. I've dedicated it to teaching and art instead. So I'm sure there's multiple holes to be picked in this. But to me, starting to take these steps and starting to come up with these ideas is the first step in trying to make something new, something better that serves more people. And by people, I mean young people. Children and teenagers who are going to move on to become adults that rely on these grades later on. Now, the basis for this method is the fact that the hegemony insists that exams are the most reliable way, as I said before, which is fine because the current British schooling system isn't actually that old. You'll be surprised by how young it is. So if that's the best at the moment, then that's fine. That's okay. It just means that we need to keep working on refining the system. Okay, we shouldn't settle for what's worked for the last 150 years. Instead, we should keep working to see what's good, so that in another 100 or 200 years, we have something that's much more solid than what we've got now, rather than clinging to the status quo. And this is important because let's face it, guys, whether you're GCSE, A-level, BTEC or VTQ or on any of those courses, whatever you're studying, you've worked 1 or 2, maybe even 3 years to get to the point where you are. And throughout that, you've been doing assignments, you've been doing homeworks, you've been doing classwork, you've been doing mocks, all that sort of stuff. So why should a 1 or 2 hour exam at the end be the thing that shows everything that you've done, that shows all your ability, represents all your ability from those 2 years? To me, it doesn't really make that much sense. A combination which looks at both would definitely be something that I would find more reliable personally if I was looking at someone's results. I'd be more interested in how they did over a period of a long time rather than just a short period of time. Because just think about the amount of people who end up with bad grades because they had a family tragedy the day before an exam, or they're sick, or they're going through a period of depression, or they have a disability that affects how they perform in exams, or they have a special educational need that, you know, makes it tough for them to handle that a certain exam. Just think about them. Is it fair? Is the system serving them? And the system that I described is something that can be put in place fairly quickly. I mean, just look at how quickly the system that was used during the summer, last summer, was put in place. So this isn't something that's difficult. I mean, we have from now until when? Until May, June to get this done. So, you know, it's something that's definitely worth considering. So just going back to the original question of do I think that exams should be cancelled or if they should carry on as they are? Well, I do believe that exams will be more unfair than usual this year, especially if they're not changed much. But at the same time, I don't want them cancelled if we're just gonna have a repeat of what happened in summer 2020. We don't want that. That's really something that we don't want. So instead, there needs to be some sort of middle ground, and I think Ofqual would do well to look into that. Something that is new, something that really benefits students from all backgrounds equally. And that's all I really want to say for today. But I'm curious, I mean, having seen this video and the video that I did back in June, what is your opinion? Has it changed at all? Do you still think that we should definitely have exams, or maybe you've changed and think that we shouldn't now, or maybe vice versa? Or maybe you're like me and you think that we should find some sort of middle ground which melds the two together, or something new entirely, just something completely different. Let me know down in the comments below what your opinion is on that matter. Also, once again, don't forget to like and subscribe this video, and check out some of these other videos that will be appearing on screen now. So that's all from me today. Until next time.